Hello, Professor Gillis. Today I'm going to be discussing Ian Pearson and Michael Lyons mapping the new commercial landscape with a specific focus on the impact of automation in the next 7 years. Before we go on further, let us go back into history. The concern that the automation may take up all the human jobs is not something new. We've been debating this topic ever since the integration of machines and industrial automation. If we have a if we have a look at this post from the Washington Post published in February 1961, it says automation may end 4 million office jobs in America in the next 5 years. In fact, President Kennedy ranked automation as the #1 job challenge. So what really happened? Did we have a huge employment crisis in the early 60s? So let us have a look at the employment figures, the historical employment figures. If we have a look at this chart from the Bureau of Labor Statistics, it shows US employment to population ratio for the people in the age group of 25 to 54 years. As we predicted, automation would have taken up 4 million jobs, office jobs in America, but that's not what really happened. From the early 60s to late 60s, we've only seen more and more number of people being employed. And in fact, it has been a general trend for more and more number of people to be employed. The employment to population ratio has always been going up, except for during the recessions, of course. Only these times we saw a decrease in the employment to population ratio. So where did we go wrong? Why did we predict 4 million loss of jobs, but then again more and more number of people were being employed? What really happened? With the development of a new technology, we're being able to automate a process. A work which was previously done by humans is now being done by a machine, which obviously results in a number of jobs being lost, as indicated here. On the other hand, we would need a bunch of people working together to automate this process. There would be new tech suppliers, new industries, resulting in new jobs as indicated here. However, the number of new jobs being created is far less than the number of old jobs being lost in this process. That's how we end up estimating 4 million jobs to be lost in the process of automation. We only considered this block in putting together that estimation. However, machines are much more productive than humans. With this higher productivity, the companies were being able to achieve economies of scale. With this economies of scale, they were being able to offer lower prices on the same goods and services they offer. With the economies of scale, they can expand into new markets, different businesses, thereby creating new jobs. And with the same economies of scale, they're being able to offer the same goods and services at lower prices, which makes us buy more of these goods, thereby again expanding the business and creating more number of new jobs in the process. And because of the lower prices being offered on the same goods, we can spend our money on other things like going out to a restaurant or a movie, and then thereby creating a bunch of new jobs as well over here. By putting together that estimation of 4 million jobs being lost in the process of automation, we did not take into account the higher productivity of machines and the new jobs being created due to the higher productivity. It is now safe to assume that automation is changing our lives without much impacting the economy overall. Labor productivity is the amount of goods and services produced divided by the number of hours worked. Because of the automation and machines, we're being able to produce more and more number of goods in less amount of time. If you see the US labor productivity chart, we can see an almost linear growth since 1950s. On the other hand, the labor productivity growth has been on a decline since the early 2000s. It's not just only for the US, but also for major economies like Japan and Germany and the UK. What does this mean for the new technology management? Over the next couple of years, we will see new management systems being integrated into almost all aspects of a business. These kind of new systems will offer an unparalleled opportunity for employers to monitor and control every aspect of an employee's work life. Those managers who seek to impose a uniform process and keep an tab on compliance and procedures may very well be able to increase the short-term productivity of the employee. On the other hand, in doing so, will undermine the trust and restrict experimentation. It is up to these managers will of course need to learn how to make the most out of these systems. It, the problem will not be of the technology itself, but how to effectively use this technology. The choice between controlling workers on the one hand and enabling them to innovate and cooperate on the other would be the new dilemma of a modern day manager. It all depends on the leadership style. And before closing in, I would like to give you one example. As of December 2017, a federal law requires all trucks in the country to be equipped with an electronic logging device which transmits all of the information and the status of the truck to the employer. The employers would be able to monitor the status, speed, and location of the truck and guide the drivers to on which route to take, and so on and so forth. With these new devices, the drivers are being micromanaged by the employers. They're being told at what time they should be driving and at what time they should be taking rest. This device undermines the trust between the employer and the employees, and it does not offer personalized recommendations to the drivers. For an instance, it requires all the drivers to drive for 11 hours and then work for 3 hours on non-driving issues and then sleep for 10 hours. If, for instance, a driver is like 30 minutes away from his destination but reached his quota of driving 11 hours per day, he will not be able to drive any further until he takes up his 10 hours of rest. That they don't give on the personalized recommendation to drivers, and hence these devices do micromanage, and it is up to the employer and the managers to make sure to make use of these devices, to make the most out of these devices. In conclusion, I predict there would be not automation is not going to kill all the manual jobs, at least not in the next decade. There will, however, be a time gap, a geographic gap, and a skills gap, with the new jobs being created and the old jobs being killed. The new jobs being created, of course, will not be at the same time or need not be at the same location, nor they require the same skills as the previous jobs that are being destroyed. Managers and organizations will need to focus on these gaps to make the most out of their situations, and there will be much more complex systems which will change the way how we manage people, and only those organizations, managers receptive to these changes will only succeed. Thank you very much.